to everybody around the world, especially in the US. And I'd like to introduce my good friend Blockade, who is the crypto king of Rhode Island. So, without further ado, Cade, introduce yourself briefly and explain what you do, brother.
Hey, my name's Blockade. Yeah, I'm based out of Rhode Island right now, by way of South Korea and France, and originally from Minnesota. And yeah, been in the crypto space for a minute. First heard about Bitcoin in 2012, and then actually got my ass together and started investing in 2016, 2017, and started working on some Korean crypto startups around that time, 2017, 2018, and since 2019, I've been working full time in the space. Been doing a little writing, a lot of consulting, done a lot of ghost writing. I had a crypto podcast called Dark Side of the Hodl Moon. I might restart it during the next hard fork. And yeah, done a lot of writing for sites like Decrypt and CoinDesk, written for like major crypto exchanges. Currently, right now, I work at CKC, Composable Knowledge Capital. They're a burgeoning digital asset crypto fund, and they also have a studio, and might be starting up another project here in a month or so, but I can't talk about it now, but really excited. Nice to see you this morning, world. Where are you calling me from?
I'm all over the place, bro. I'm decentralized, as you know, but right now I'm in Arizona. So, in the woods. Like I said before we went live, you might see an elk or something walking behind me. So, anyway, you said hard fork. What is that? And explain in simple terms, because a lot of people, what we're doing with the channel, like I said, this is just going to be us talking, chopping it up. It's nothing formal. Is that I'm
Yeah.
trying to basically talk to people that are new to crypto and want to invest in crypto and have no idea what they're doing. Like I made a video the other day talking about the 5 cryptos that I would invest in and why, and like in really simple terms. And I even did a blockchain 101 video. So, what is a hard fork?
Yeah, I mean, when I said that, that was kind of a joke, but yeah, hard fork is kind of when a blockchain splits. So there's a couple famous examples of that. There's two different ways of a blockchain splitting: a soft fork and a hard fork. A hard fork means there's two separate blockchains when the hard fork initiates. A soft fork is kind of like a voluntary split, and you can choose to adopt it or not, and it's backwards compatible. So the most famous examples would probably be some of the Bitcoin forks. So I think the big fork was Bitcoin splitting to Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash in 2017. And then Bitcoin Cash had also another hard fork when Bitcoin Cash split between Bitcoin Cash and Bitcoin SV, Bitcoin Satoshi Vision from Craig
Well, I just
Wright.
want to say, briefly, isn't Dogecoin also a fork of Bitcoin technically?
No, well, it's a little bit different. We could get into the little weeds here. I think that's just like that's kind of like a source code fork. They just kind of copied a lot of the code and they kind of modified it a little bit. But yeah, so the Bitcoin fork. So prior to those forks, they're all the same Bitcoin. Prior to those forks, all Bitcoin, Satoshi Vision, Bitcoin Cash, and Bitcoin, they all go back to the Genesis block. But at the point of those hard forks, they're completely separate chains. So that's a big one major example. Another classic example is the Ethereum fork. There was a hack of the DAO, and to refund people, they split Ethereum into Ethereum and Ethereum Classic, which has the ticker ETC. So some people thought, even though it was a hack, like you shouldn't reorg the blockchain. Like the blockchain is king, you can't change it. So those are two examples of like big hard forks, and those were like contentious hard forks. A lot of times, like a hard fork isn't contentious. Like all the miners or all the validators kind of approve the hard fork, and it's like you would never even hear about it. But those are examples of contentious hard forks.
All right, cool. By the way, I just started. I have an intern now for our project, Pernamed, and he's researching how to use Solana and Filecoin, how to store data and transfer from point A to point B. And I just recently had him make a meme coin. And one thing I learned transferring different cryptocurrencies to him is that Bitcoin is super expensive, and like even Bitcoin Cash is very inexpensive, and Solana even more so. Have you had that experience with the different
Yeah. I
cryptocurrencies, and certain
mean,
ones are better and certain ones are worse? Or
Yeah, I mean, you know me, like my intro said, I heard about Bitcoin in 2012 and got into it a few years later, started actually using it and stuff like that. And I was around for that Bitcoin hard fork, and that I think it's important to give the context of this, why it was a contentious hard fork. It's because people wanted to increase the block size in Bitcoin, so transactions were cheaper, you could do more transactions. And around the time of the Bitcoin hard fork, I spent like a $50 transaction fee to move crypto off an exchange or something. It was ridiculous. And I mean that's kind of where some Bitcoin maximalists will say like high fees are good, but in this case, in that case, Bitcoin's only going to be used for by institutional investors. It's only going to be used for like really high value purchases. You're not going to buy coffee with Bitcoin, but maybe you could buy a house, or you could buy a Lambo, buy a
Or
Ferrari.
not yet, right? Or not yet. Or you mean? Oh, you mean specifically Bitcoin? You're not going to buy coffee with a Bitcoin, right?
Yeah,
Sorry, continue.
exactly. But yeah, I used to go to the Bitcoin Cash meetup in Boston. Shout out to those guys if they're watching. And yeah, you could go and Bitcoin Cash is usually a fraction of a penny. I haven't checked the transaction fees with Bitcoin now. I still have it in my portfolio. I just hodl it, so I'm not stressed about transaction fees. But yeah, I mean transaction fees fluctuate between $3 and $10, so it doesn't really function as a peer-to-peer cash, which is kind of why I'm a Bitcoin Cash fanboy, and obviously I've got this is from the white paper. If you don't
Yeah,
know, Bitcoin
yeah,
peer-to-peer electronic cash. So if it's costing you more than Visa or Mastercard, it really doesn't work as cash. I think there are pros to having a small transaction fee, like a penny or a fraction of a penny. It kind of prevents spam. It kind of prevents like
definitely.
issues with that. Some people have even thought about like, hey, email should be like a thousandth of a penny or something. Then you wouldn't get so much spam email. The email would
Well,
actually have
that
to
that
matter for something.
that would be good because we all just dream. But okay, you said hodl. Before we continue, what does hodl mean? Spell it out to me. And what does it exactly mean from your perspective? Because I've been using that a lot too, and I think maybe some of the viewers of the channel, people aren't really going to watch this live. It's a little early on the East and West Coast, but later on when they do watch it, you're an interesting guest to have. Like, what
Yeah,
does that
yeah.
mean?
Well, it's funny. I should reference my old podcast because it was called Dark Side of the Hodl Moon. I'll play on Dark Side of the Moon, the album, if you're a fan. But basically, this was one of the earliest crypto memes. I can't remember where it was. Maybe it was on like Bitcoin Talk or one of the Bitcoin forums. And as you know, or as the viewers and listeners know, if you look at the old charts, Bitcoin was very volatile. Trust me, I've ridden all these waves from you know $1,000 Bitcoin up to 20,000, back to 3,000, then up, and then up to 40, back down, and up to 70, and now it's going down again. So a lot of people when Bitcoin is going way up, they're really happy. When it starts dropping, they like panic sell. And I think this guy had a little bit too much whiskey or some sort of alcoholic substance.
It
And
happens to all of us, by the way, especially in the crypto tech space. Just saying.
yeah, and
Go
he's
ahead.
like, and like people were debating, like, should we buy, should we sell? Like, what is everyone else doing in the investor space? And he's like, I don't care. I'm hodling, and like, it was just a misspelling of hold.
Definitely.
So hodl literally means hold, but it's kind of like an inside joke from a forum post that went viral. And it's funny now that like there's even plays on that. I think like one of the big TradFi firms, like maybe it's BlackRock or something, they have like a tokenized treasury product. Instead of calling build, it's called biddle. BUIDL, like a misspelling of build. So
Also,
it's
basically
really
just
trending.
hodl, but continuing the tradition.
Yeah, so hodl literally just means hold, and it generally means hold like for a long time, hold for years, hold for the rest. Like
Or hold
generally,
on to dear. Have you ever heard this one? Hold on to dear life, or no? Is that
yeah,
just a joke?
hold on to dear life, hodl on the dear life. Yeah, it makes sense to me.
Like hodl,
Yeah,
like
I
when you
mean,
hold the crypto, like no matter what's happened, the volatility, if it's going up parabolically or it's going down, just hold on for dear life. Like just hold. That's what I think of when I think of
yeah,
hodl.
yeah. I mean, that could really crush you if you invest in meme coins that bottom out to zero. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, I've been hodling. Yeah, I
Like
mean, to be
mania.
fair,
Sorry.
I've personally been hodling my portfolio. I don't think I've sold any other than making some small purchases with Bitcoin Cash and stuff. I've basically been hodling my whole portfolio since 2017, 2018. I've moved things around between cryptos a little bit, but yeah, I've been hodling my Bitcoin throughout this since uh,
Yeah,
early 2017, I think.
you've been hodling, so a lot of people are going to say, isn't the point of cryptocurrency to actually just sell it off when it hits the top? So my understanding is this: we talked about this before last year as well when we did a podcast for a different organization that I was hosting. The way when you think of cryptocurrency, you can take out loans right against the cryptocurrency. You don't actually have to sell it at the top, right? And you can live off of that. But can you go into more detail like what that entails?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of wealthy people they do a similar thing with their equity, their stock portfolio. I think maybe people like I don't know if it's necessarily Elon Musk or Amazon or Jeff Bezos, but like they have all this Tesla or Amazon stock, let's say, they don't sell it, they just take out a low interest rate loan against it. And yeah, I've done the same thing with crypto. So for example, I got married a few years ago and
Congrats
I
again.
maybe yeah, thank you. I maybe could have sold the Bitcoin and paid for the wedding, but I wanted to hodl it. So basically what I did is I deposited Bitcoin and maybe I used Ethereum and a few other things too, and I got a crypto collateralized loan, and then I just got cash. It was a fairly low interest rate, and then I just paid back the loan. And I was able to get my crypto back. So that's a really good use case. I mean, there's decentralized options, there's centralized options like Salt Lending or Nexo and stuff. So yeah, I mean, it's really cool, and you don't have to deal with the issues of even if you have good credit, it could be issue getting a loan from a bank or credit union that you have to fill all this paperwork, wait all this time. For me, I just deposited the crypto and basically immediately had a line of credit. So that's a really awesome use case for crypto.
Okay, so just so we get it clear, because I don't want anybody. We're not suggesting anybody do that, especially if you're a beginner. But can you? Because there's a lot of scams out there. Can you just reiterate the name of the organization that you used to loan from, or spell it out,
I
maybe?
can't. I think I used Nexo, because I had other people who had used it in my circle, but yeah, there's decentralized options where you could get. You can also, I think, Salt Lending is a one in the U.S. and there's a bunch of other ones I'm probably forgetting. I'd have to look them up. But yeah, I mean, there's also like decentralized versions that are probably pretty safe, but you'd also maybe have to go through a separate step. So like if you use like a decentralized option, you'd probably deposit you know, you'd probably actually you'd
Uh-huh.
probably deposit like wrapped Bitcoin or wrapped Ether, and then you'd probably get stable coins, USD pegged stable coins that are 1 to 1 to the US dollar. But unless the person you're paying or the thing you're buying accepts stable coins, you might then have to convert those stable coins to fiat currency. So it might be another extra step. It might be a little maybe annoying, especially if you're a beginner. And even for me, who knows how to do it, like it was just a lot easier to use the centralized version. And I that's kind of one thing I hope in the future is that the user experience, the user interface is really going to get simpler as time goes on. I think that's one thing that's preventing a lot of people from getting into crypto like fully. You know what I mean? They're a little worried about how do I
Definitely.
use this wallet or how do I use this exchange or what if I send it and I send it to the wrong address? There's still those issues to be worked out.
Yeah, that happens to me too. And that's why I prefer the on my phone. Maybe that's the safest way to do it. But it's just a receiving or sending address. On my phone, send me the receiving address, copy and paste it, and send it over. When I do send cryptocurrency, for example, to my intern for projects. So you
Yeah.
talked about recently getting married. Great stuff. Amazing wife, by the way. So you just had a newborn. Congratulations again. A reason we haven't seen each other in in a while, right? I'm
Yeah,
traveling and you're
yeah, yeah.
traveling
This is
and everything.
yeah,
But
yeah.
how do you
No, yeah,
balance? But how do you balance like the work life balance? Because crypto's tech space, right? So we do work long hours. Like sometimes I'm working like 12 hours a day. Even though I have different projects that I work on as well. On top of that, but I don't have a wife and a baby like you do. So how do you do that?
yeah. Thanks. I got a 3 month old. It's probably news to a lot of people because I don't post about it on social media.
Which
But
is a good
but
thing.
yeah,
You want to keep your life private. I'm just saying because people want to know because it's not easy, especially people
yeah.
that want to transition to an industry.
No. It's great. Being a dad. Yeah, I've got a. He was 3 months on the 4th of July. America's birthday. Yeah, it's tough.
Lucky.
I mean, I guess the benefits are like I got a great wife, and she's home during the summer. She's a teacher, so I can focus on work. But yeah, it's a balancing act, and we'll have to see if she goes back to work or when she goes back to work. What we do, I might have to reduce my hours a little bit. I might have to be like half crypto, half dad. But we've also been getting helped a
Or you
lot
can
by
change your name from
her.
Blockade to Crypto Dad.
Yeah, Blockade slash Super Dad. And yeah, getting help from her family has been helped too. My mother-in-law's helped out a lot. So yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll make it happen. But yeah, it's a really rewarding thing. Like crypto, it's really rewarding.
No, definitely, especially if you know how to hodl properly. I was just talking to a friend of mine who I made a video about as you know about Black Americans in crypto, and he used to watch the videos. Like, Mike, it's an amazing video about all my family has lost money in crypto, and I wanted to explain to him, sit down, like, listen, you only lose money if you sell, but we'll talk about that later
Yeah,
or some
yeah,
other day.
yeah, yeah. I
But
want to say
let's want
two
to talk
things.
about that right now. Go ahead.
Yeah, I want to say a couple things. Well, one, someone got me a little onesie for my baby. It said "hodl me." So if you're in the crypto space and someone else gets a baby, they're in the crypto, get hodl me. Yeah, I think one thing about losing money is like some. I think it's important to have a plan. I mean, one of my favorite stories is I was on an ultimate team a few years ago, probably 2018, and this was like Bitcoin was way down and it was like starting to trend up. It was like sub 10K, I think. I'm probably getting the numbers wrong. And it was like starting to trend up. It was going up. This is the summer it was really booming again. It was like, you know, it's going 12, 13, 14. I was like, some people like, oh, like they knew I was the crypto guy on the team. Like no one else had crypto. They're like, oh, do you think it's a good time to buy? And literally, basically, I gave them the most simple advice. Don't invest more than you're willing to lose. And I said, if you're
Hmm.
buying Bitcoin, buy it, and I said, "Hold it." I said, "Hodl it for a minimum of 5 years." It was sub 10K, and I think this is when it kind of, like, hit, like, around 20K, and then it was just, like, up, and then it just bottomed back down to 3K and then went back up again, so, basically.
It went back up to like 60K that time, right? In
Yeah, but,
2020.
like, it took a long time, though, if you're not patient, so, like, it was way down, I was buying some, accumulating some more, and basically, the whole summer, they just watched it go up, and at the end, when it was, like, at the peak at that time, they bought it, and then I said they first, they didn't, invest as little, what they're affording to lose, and 2, I said, "Hold it for a minimum of 5 years." So basically, then it started going down. Most of them held it for like a month or two, and they just sold for a loss. I'm like, if you would have hold it, not even hold it 5 years, you would have hold it a couple years, you would have tripled your money, even if you bought at the
Definitely.
peak at that time. But like a lot of people, they're greedy, they're panic. It's like, oh, they want something that shoots to the moon but never goes
And
down.
they
That's
also
just not how
invest.
it happens.
Also, they invest in rent money for 2 months from now, and they think that, oh, I'll use this for rent money.
Yeah, so you got to have a plan. You got to be smart. Like I'm maybe a little bit more on the I'm more someone who's willing to take on risk. I'm comfortable taking risk. Probably now I'll probably start to de-risk a little bit. I think I
Oh,
can't take
when
other.
you have a family, and I understand that. I have a lot of friends that have children, and they're like, yeah, I can't take too much risk now that I have a kid.
Yeah, and also my wife won't let me, so that's hilarious.
No, definitely, I understand. But like, I also like to say it like this. Okay, that I tell people, listen, if you're gonna invest in cryptocurrency or digital assets, anything that's volatile, invest the money and pretend that you lost it. Because I like to employ the Warren Buffett method. I've met Eric Finn, the world's youngest Bitcoin millionaire. I've met a lot of people that are very wealthy, people that have like 60 million, 70 million. They won't tell me the exact amount, but I can I can add the math depending on when they bought it, 2010, 2011, and how much they bought. And one thing that I've always noticed is that they've all they didn't get wealthy in 1 or 2 years. Most of them got wealthy 5, 6, 7, 8 years, like the Warren Buffett style method. Like Michael Saylor likes to say, Michael Saylor, right from MicroStrategies. The wealthy, especially billionaires, think of in terms of decades, not in terms of weeks or months or years. Like in terms of decades. That's good. So I want to ask next, what advice would you like to give to people looking to find a job in crypto? That somebody that doesn't have any experience in the crypto industry. They bought Bitcoin here and there, but they're like, you know what? I think I might want to transition from being a teacher or being an engineer or being a telemarketer into crypto.
Yeah, I think it really depends on what kind of job you're in. I think like a few things I would say is if you're passionate about it, that helps a lot. I mean, people can see that you're passionate about it, you care about it. You're not just like following the next big trend. Educating yourself and having some work that you can show. Whether it's like me or in like more of the social media space, I do interviews, get interviewed on panels, do stuff like this on YouTube or LinkedIn. Do a lot of writing, do podcasts. So I think if you could start your own blog, put something on Medium, get a LinkedIn following, get a popular Twitter handle or some social media handles. I think it really depends what you're looking to get into. Like if you're into HR, those skills will translate right over. If you're a programmer, I think a lot of people are really into like there's a big need for like programmers in the space. So like if you're already a programmer, and you're passionate about crypto, I think you'll get a job just like that. You might have to learn some different programming languages. I think it was a lot easier for me to get it back then, because even when I started transitioning to working into crypto from like the science and education back, background in space, even in 2018, 2019, no one was into it. Very few people were into it. Now it's popular. Like, I think Masari had just like thousands of people apply to be interns for them and stuff. So it's super competitive right now. So I think you're gonna really have to stand out. Like even for me, I've been writing I've written hundreds of articles, and I'm applying for writing jobs. I don't get a lot of them, and I've written hundreds of articles. So like, I think I recently picked up a job, but I had to like do 3 interviews, do a writing test, and it's really meritocratic. It doesn't matter, if you're American, you're
Yeah.
European, you're Asian, if you're man or woman, white or black. It's like if you can do the work and you have produce good work, you'll get an interest. I think the tough thing is depend. I think it also depends on your age. If you're younger, maybe you can start with an entry level position. If you're a little bit older, it's kind of hard to transition into the crypto space without maybe like dropping down a few levels in your job or taking a pay cut. So it's really how bad do you want it, I think.
And the crazy thing about it is that, like, I introduced, I'm not going to say the organizations that I know that you've written for here, but you've written for some impressive, you have really impressive work for some, like, people that are up there in the crypto space. So the fact that even it's hard for you to, get in, you have to go through 3 interviews still with all the work that you've done and the battle tested man that you are. It's just really crazy to me. So can you explain what DeFi and TradFi are? Like, just define them first. DeFi, what is DeFi and what is TradFi?
Yeah, so TradFi stands for traditional finance. That's probably what every one of your viewers is familiar with. It's
Give
your
me some
MasterCard.
examples. Sorry, give me some
Yeah,
examples
yeah,
of TradFi.
yeah. I'm gonna get into that. Yeah, so TradFi is traditional finance, what you're all familiar with. It's your checking account, it's your credit card, it's your Visa, it's your MasterCard, it's your credit union, it's your bank, it's the New York Stock Exchange. It's basically all that stuff. It's your Western Unions, your places that send the remittances overseas. So basically, the financial structure you're used to, using a credit card, uh, using a check, sending a wire transfer, using Western Union. I would say maybe you could also include some of the fintech apps, like maybe PayPal and Apple Pay. They're kind of still more TradFi. They're kind of bridging that gap. But that's what basically what traditional finance is. The thing that you're familiar with, the thing that your parents are familiar with, even things your grandparents are familiar with. A lot of this stuff hasn't changed. Checks have been the same for decades. Like nothing's really evolved in that space.
Okay, so what is DeFi?
So DeFi stands for decentralized finance. So it's kind of an alternative to TradFi. So instead of instead of sending a bank transfer, instead of using Western Union, you can send monetary value using an alternative method. So, for example, I mentioned briefly, I lived in South Korea for a few years, 2012-ish to 2017-ish, and sometimes it was an issue sending wires back or they'd be expensive. I knew people who would send Bitcoin back instead of using a bank. At the time it was cheaper, it was easier. They just sent it to a crypto exchange, they could cash it out for US dollars for their US account. So decentralized finance is a decentralized version of finance, and it's has different payment rails too. You're not using the Visa or MasterCard network. You're not using a banking network. So if you're sending Bitcoin, you're sending so Bitcoin is both a monetary asset. You can see the price on CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko. It's also a protocol. It's also a technology. You hear about the crypto miners. You hear about the nodes. They're securing this network. You can think of the Bitcoin protocol as a payment rail, like a railroad for transmitting value. And so that's the big B Bitcoin. The small B Bitcoin is the asset you send on that payment rail. And these different blockchains have different payment rails. You can send Ether on Ethereum. You can send Bitcoin Cash on the Bitcoin Cash blockchain. So that's one part of decentralized finance. Another part that's really exciting is using it for other stuff too. So there's decentralized exchanges. Instead of using a Coinbase or a Kraken or a Gemini, you can go to a decentralized exchange and trade cryptos or cash out into stable coins on an exchange that's not it's it's a protocol. It's not it's done algorithmically. There's different ways of doing it, but it's an alternative to a centralized exchange. And also with DeFi, you can hold your own crypto. So if you hold crypto on Coinbase or Kraken or Gemini, I think they're pretty safe. You can trust them, but they're actually holding the crypto on your behalf. So a
Yep.
good example is if you have gold in your house, you hid it in a safe or it's under the floorboards, you actually have the gold. So if you have gold at a Brink's vault, you're trusting them, but they actually have your gold. You got to get it back someday.
Yep.
Versus if you have a hardware software wallet, I've got them all over my desk here. This is a little ledger. I can put crypto on here. No one can take it. Like I literally have the crypto on my person. So that's one example. And then you can also in DeFi now, especially on Ethereum and other networks as well, they're doing a lot of decentralized finance. So you can deposit crypto and be a liquidity provider. You can do decentralized borrowing and lending. There's a lot of other things. So think of lending and borrowing with a bank, but like in DeFi, you could be the bank. You could lend out your crypto and get an interest rate, or you could deposit your crypto and get stable coins back and use it to trade. So a lot of really exciting things in DeFi. It's an alternative to TradFi.
Definitely. And we're gonna get more into that in Web 3.0 and all that stuff. And a lot of the cool things, like I know, like I personally like staking, but there's other things like I think it's called liquidity farming and all that kind of different stuff. But we'll get more into that in a different talk, because right now I still want to gear towards beginners. As we get into the meat of the bull run in a few months, I'm gonna have you back, and we're gonna talk more complex topics. So TradFi and DeFi. This, maybe I'm wrong. You're obviously more well versed than I am, but I think of exchange traded funds as we're basically TradFi and DeFi are meeting. This is the intersection. Do you agree with that? With exchange traded funds basically being where they meet up?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of different ways of looking at it. Like, but if you're talking like the Bitcoin ETF, um,
Yeah, but
yeah,
Bitcoin
it's
ETF, the Ethereum ETF, and then we have Solana applications, and so we'll talk about that in a second. Well, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's kind of you could call it kind of a merger. If they're actually custodying Bitcoin, it has an element of DeFi because it's you're holding Bitcoin or you're holding Ethereum or something else, but they're holding it for you. It leans more TradFi to me. And it's also kind of there's a middle ground. So like things that combine aspects of both. Some people call it CDeFi, which means stands for centralized decentralized finance. It's kind of like a hybrid of both.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Or
But
some people like some people call it like intermediate finance. It's like halfway between the two. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
I think I mean for people like me, I don't see like a lot of value in a Bitcoin ETF because I'm holding it myself. I'm not paying any fees. I'm very comfortable holding it on a personal wallet or on an exchange I trust, and you're paying a fee. But I think for people that are a little bit more hesitant, they trust the TradFi system more. It's a good way to get exposure to Bitcoin or Ether, or if it happens, the Solana ETF. So basically, it's a financial instrument you're familiar with, an ETF or an ETP, and you can get exposure to that. I know you mentioned Michael Saylor before. I know some people just buy MicroStrategy stock because they have a ton of Bitcoin on their balance sheet. So it's kind of a way to get exposure to Bitcoin using TradFi. You're buying MicroStrategy, but MicroStrategy has how many Bitcoin. So if Bitcoin does well, the MicroStrategy stock does well. So that's kind of another way of getting exposure. If you're not willing to dive, head first into DeFi, you just want to dip your toes in. Yeah, maybe a Bitcoin ETF. Maybe just buy stock of a company that has a lot of Bitcoin or crypto on their balance sheet.
yep. Just like Riot, you can basically invest in the miners.
Yeah.
That mine Bitcoin. By the way, everything. Just want to make a quick disclosure. Everything that we say, we're not financial advisors, so anything we say on this podcast and episode is not financial advice. But anyway, so we have the Bitcoin ETFs that are live. The Ethereum ETFs hopefully are going to go live very soon, in the next couple of weeks, and then we have the Solana applications that were already put in late June. What are, like, besides those three? Give me two other cryptocurrencies you think are really promising for ETFs in like the next year, like towards
Yeah.
the from now until the end of 2025.
Yeah. I mean, I think kind of now the cat's out of the bag. Like if they let Bitcoin be an ETF, it seems like they're gonna let Ethereum be an ETF. And then I think it's really if there's market demand for it, And if they approve it, I think the wider issue here is that like a lot of people aren't a big fans of the SEC or Gary Gensler,
I made a
and
video about that recently. I'm not sure if you
yeah,
know
and
that.
if he goes out, or if there's more crypto friendly thing, depends on what happens with the election and a lot of other stuff. But I mean, I think for me it doesn't really make a lot of sense. I think Grayscale already has like they're not quite ETFs, but they're like trusts. I think Grayscale has a bunch of different trusts for a bunch of different digital assets or a bunch of different cryptos right now that like is pretty extensive. I think they probably got like a dozen or so. Definitely have more than a few. So yeah, I think they should approve it. I mean, I think it's if they approve them, they're just going to be some of the higher market cap coins. They're not going to approve an ETF, I don't think, for something that's like market cap of 550 or something. It's going to be like maybe like top 50, not including like stable coins, maybe not including coins that were originally meme coins. I don't know if there's going to be a Dogecoin ETF, to be honest with you, but I think if there's demand for it, people want it, and they'd want to use that traditional centralized intermediate finance structure. I think they should offer it. I don't
So
know
what?
here if
So
you
what
can.
are so what are top two after Solana? Like, what are his top two picks that you think? I personally believe in the top 10. Just saying, but what are your top two picks? It's about you today.
Yeah, I mean, well, because I'm a fan of them, I would love to see a Bitcoin Cash and a Cardano ETF. But yeah, I think really anything in the top 25 that's not a meme coin or stable coin makes sense for there to be an ETF. But before we move on here, I don't know if you can see it here, but like I like to collect crypto meme coins, and I don't know if you can see this, but this is a coin of Gary Gensler. He's holding Tether and Bitcoin, and he's dressed as a clown. So
Oh,
I
I was
that
gonna make one like that, but I'm happy that they already have one physical
yeah, it says
version.
GameStop, so
That's
you
nice.
can tell what I
Yeah,
think of Gary Gensler.
I believe so too. By the way, my opinion on ETFs, I think that after Solana, I think it's gonna be XRP because, well, Brad, what's his name again? The CEO of Ripple, Brad
Um,
Garlinghouse. Is that correct?
yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, he said that there'll be one by mid 2025, I believe, at an interview. And I agree with John Deaton that there might be a basket of memes instead of like just one meme coin ETF. Like you have like the one that takes Dogecoin, Shiba Inu, for example, and Pepe and Bonk, baby. Just like a basket of like three or four of them. I think that'd be
Yeah,
pretty cool.
yeah, I don't know if you can do basket in the ETF. I'm less familiar with the TradFi world than the DeFi world. I would say like if it was a basket, I guess you could probably do that. I don't know if it would be rebalanced. So I think is even with a basket, meme coins are so volatile. They can jump in and out of the top 10 and drop out of the top 100. Um, but uh, but yeah, I mean, I think in general, meme coins are promising. A lot of
And they're
retailers
popular.
in the
People, a
meme.
lot of they're a gateway crypto to a lot of people, right? A lot of people that have never
Yeah,
bought. I started with Dogecoin, with my first ever crypto purchase. But
yeah. Meme coins are like the risky of the risky. There, some people have made a lot of money. Some people have lost a lot of money. You can if you just Google like meme coin investor makes lots of money. All these crazy
$5
stories will
billion,
pop up.
for example, out of a
Yeah,
few $1,000, or it's like some guys made $5-6 million off of $2 investments on meme coins. Yeah, it's crazy.
yeah. Someone bought like a Bitcoin's worth of Dogecoin, held it for 2 years, and made like I think hundreds of millions of dollars. Or something. Just like insane amounts. It's just like, but even in that case, I'd have to look it up. I mean, it could have been even like $1 billion, but like he bought like a lot of Dogecoin when it was really low, and I think he held it for 2 or 3 years, and he just like I don't know if he ever cashed out, but he could have made like just an absolute killing. Like it's. But also, if you want to be risky, I mean, you could invest entire Bitcoin at 50, 60K, and it could just like bottom out and drop to zero, and then you just lost 60 grand. So
It
it's
happens, brother.
yeah, meme
It
coins.
happens.
Meme coins are the risky of the risky. But yeah, even in big digital asset funds. I work for one, and I know other funds are into them too. Even big digital asset funds, I've heard and read stories about like a big digital asset fund getting into bonk and getting good returns on it. I think it's getting in early. I think it's a lot of it just about sentiment. What are retail investors into? And yeah, it seems like just because you mentioned earlier the transaction fees, I think the Solana meme coin space is really hot right now.
Yeah, meme coin mania and Solana. So Bitcoin and Ethereum. These are in my opinion, these are the blue chip cryptos. You can make a case for Solana. Let's include that into the next question. So, what are your predictions? again, give me a range because nobody gets it perfectly right. But what are predictions for the market high in this upcoming market cycle bull run for Bitcoin, Ethereum, and Solana?
Yeah, I don't even know what Ethereum's trading at right now. I just buy and hold. Yeah, I'd have to look at the prices. I think I wouldn't be surprised if Bitcoin hits six figures. I know a lot of people are predicting like 100K to 150K range. But yeah, definitely I'm not a financial advisor, not financial advice. But one counterpoint I've heard is that with the Bitcoin ETFs, there's going to be less volatility, but there could be like less upside, like slower growth. I know like some people are kind of like getting out of Bitcoin more. Like Bitcoin is more like their like safe haven crypto investment, but if they want
Yeah,
returns, they're diversifying more into Ethereum and Solana. I don't even know what the price of Ethereum and Solana are right now. Like I said, I'm a hard term hodler. But yeah, I think I don't even, I have to look at the price on my computer right now
I
to even
mean,
give
if
you.
you want to, but I believe that Bitcoin is hovering around 50. I mean, again, I might be wrong because things are so volatile, and I got up and just I hopped on here with you. But last I looked, Bitcoin was around 57K, Ethereum was around like I believe 2,900, and then Solana was like at 147 or something like that. But go ahead.
Yeah, let me look. Yeah, Ethereum's at 3. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if Ethereum hits 5K. I know a lot of people are making long-term predictions of Ethereum at 10K. And yeah, Solana, looking at it right now, yeah, I think, I mean, it's close to 150. The all-time high was 200, but I think Solana, if I were to put one, if you wanted to be like more risky, I would say like that one has the, most room to grow.
Definitely,
Um,
like Michael Saylor says
I,
the same thing. Michael Saylor, I believe 90% of his portfolio is Solana now.
Michael Saylor's in Solana?
No, no, sorry, not Michael Saylor. I'm sorry. Raul Paul. Michael Saylor is Bitcoin only. Maxi, apologies. Raul Paul. Is that how you pronounce his name from Real Vision?
Yeah,
His
yeah.
90% of his portfolio is in Solana because he says it has the most upside.
Yeah, yeah. I think Solana is promising. I did personally pick up a good chunk of Solana around $100, and I'm staking it and hodling it. So yeah, Solana is one I kind of it just kind of blew up. Like not a lot of people saw it coming. There's so many different Ethereum layer twos or Ethereum compatible blockchains and layer twos and stuff. But like Solana's really like legitimized itself as a legit project. So yeah, I think that's one thing. What if you're a long-term hodler, long-term investor, is have a good chunk of your crypto investments in the blue chips, and then maybe you can speculate in lower cap coins, even some meme coins. But one good thing about Solana is you can stake it. So if you have enough, you can stake Ethereum or stake Solana. I also stake Cardano. So you're kind of getting more of that crypto asset as you hold it. So as long as the price doesn't depreciate too well, you're doing pretty well. And even if it does go down, if it recovers, that whole time you've been accumulating more Sol, you've been accumulating more ADA, which is Cardano's currency. So yeah, that's a good thing to layer in. Is staking projects you believe in.
Yeah, one thing I've noticed is that like I may be wrong, but like when you stake cryptocurrency, like the when the price goes down, they give you like a higher percentage of return, and when the price goes higher, it's like a lower percentage of return. Is that correct? Or
No, I think it fluctuates. In general, like the staking rewards tend to go down over time. For projects I believe in, I don't check too much, but like Cardano's rate used to be like 5%, and now it's probably gone down a couple percent, I think. But no, generally it's usually static. It doesn't get affected by the price, which is something you should consider. So like the one I follow the most is Cardano. It's trading at 80, 90 cents a dollar. You're getting 5% more Cardano. Even if it goes down to 50 cents or 40 cents or 38 cents, you're still getting 5% Cardano. But when it goes back up again, you have that same amount. So it can actually be better if it recovers. You're not getting a percentage of the price, you're getting a percentage of however much you're staking.
That's good because Solana right now, I checked, it was like 6.75. I was like, what? But I mean, but yeah, I know what you mean. It doesn't. Solana's also a fairly new project, but anyway. So do you think with all the ETFs and all the TradFi investments going into cryptocurrencies that we're entering a super cycle, or a super cycle, which means like instead of hey, we're just gonna have a bull run for 1 year, like let's say for example, it's typical to have a bull run for 1 year. We might have like a bull run for 1.5 years or 2 years instead. Or you think that we're still gonna have the same market fluctuations, of bear markets and bull markets?
Yeah, it's honestly, I don't know. I think there's a lot of money coming in, and there's going to be more money coming in from institutional investors. I know, like, a lot of surveys have shown, like, a lot of institutional investors, a lot of wealthy people, family offices, they want exposure to crypto, but not a lot. I mean, a lot, but not a lot in terms of percentages. You know, you know, the fund I work for and a lot of other funds, they might suggest like a small allocation, like 1 to 7% of your net worth. But if you're worth $100 million, that's three, four, five, six, $7 million in crypto. That
Yeah,
really adds up. But I think in the TradFi space, I think people are a lot more conservative. So I think it could like mute some of the upside. Like if a lot of people are investing in Bitcoin at 55K or 50K or 60K, as it ladders up, they might de-risk and start selling that selling pressure because they want to diversify maybe into stocks or real estate or other alternative assets. So um, I think they might not have like the Michael Saylor attitude of holding it forever. Like I think it's really going to depend on what the investors want to get out of it. I mean, some of them might just want to make a quick buck during this next bull run and kind of buy a bunch of real estate and stuff. So it's really hard to say, but in general, I think it's pretty bullish for the space that institutional investors are coming because I got in pretty early, for some of these projects, buying Bitcoin fairly cheap, buying Cardano pretty cheap, and for me, it's in general pretty bullish. But I think I'm not. I think yeah, I think it's going to be really maybe bullish for like some of the high caps. I haven't thought about it a lot. I mean, I kind of I think it's going to be a bull market, but like if it turns bearish, I'm still hodling. Like I kind of don't plan to sell anything until I want to keep holding it until it really goes up. Like I don't want to sell Bitcoin until at least a quarter million. I don't want to sell Ethereum until it's 15K plus. I don't want to sell Solana till it's 10,000 plus. And even then, I'm not going to sell all of it. I'm going to like sell a portion of it because like these are like long term things. I want to have Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana if they're projects that are still viable and valuable when I'm retired. So I'm thinking
definitely,
about holding these things for 10, 20 years. Maybe you want to take some profits and try and buy the dip, but it's really hard to time the market. I haven't thought
definitely,
about it much because I think in terms of decades, I think of like, what is my crypto portfolio going to be worth in 2030? That's the way that I'm thinking.
definitely. And you can also give it to your kids, grandchildren. It's something that you could also pay forward. So in 2017, the ICOs, initial coin offerings, were a big narrative. In 2021, it was NFTs. These are bull market cycles, by the way, as you know, just for the viewers. And it seems like up till now, we've had this Solana meme coin craze. Like, what do you think is the narrative? Do you think it's still going to be Solana meme coins going into next year and to the market top, or do you think it's going to be a different narrative coming in?
Going into this year, next year?
No, yeah, like because right now we're kind of like in the middle of like the beginnings of the bull cycle, and people are really into meme coin mania, especially like February into like now. It's been Solana meme coins. That's been the narrative.
Yeah, well, I think
And,
people are
and also ETFs too. But like, what do you think is the next narrative? Do you think is it going to be ETFs and meme coin mania up until like mid 2025 or wherever the top is, or do you think that it's going to be something different?
Yeah, I think for the normies, it might be ETFs that are afraid to get in the TradFi. I think meme coins are still going to be big, but I think it's kind of like NFTs or ICOs. I think they can be big for a while and kind of die out. I think 2020 was kind of DeFi summer. We talked a little bit about DeFi earlier, Ethereum, and all these different DeFi projects like Aave and Curve and Balancer and Yearn. A lot of them are still around and
Mhm.
doing really well. Maker, stuff like that. I think I've been reading a lot of stuff, although I'm more like big fan of like on-chain stuff and like digitally native stuff and crypto stuff. I've been hearing a lot about like DPIN, so decentralized physical infrastructure network, I
I like
believe.
that. I like Deepin.
So like Helium and like there's a bunch of other DPIN projects. So like you mentioned it before, you could probably consider this also like projects like Filecoin or Stores or Airweave. Some of those are kind of crypto, some of
I
them
love
not
Filecoin.
so much. So
I
yeah,
love
I think
Filecoin.
deep yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of like there's like projects like I don't follow them as much. I should. I don't really have a big exposure to DPIN. Maybe I should think about it. But like projects like BitTensor and Render and uh Live Peer. There's so many different projects doing things from like storage to data to the VPNs to you know mobile networks. What else? I'm missing a bunch, but like DPIN is
Oh,
hot, and I
there's
think
a lot of them. Yeah, there's a lot of them.
yeah,
Deepin is a lot of them.
DAI, decentralized AI. There's a big merger between I can't remember. There's like three projects that are turning into ASI token. So I think that's hot, and I think it makes a lot of sense for people who are new to crypto. Like, hey, this crypto is tied to like a network of mobile towers or this network is decentralized cloud computing. Oh, that's another one. Decentralized cloud computing. That's hot. Instead of using
Filecoin.
like instead of yeah. Well, I think Filecoin maybe they have cloud computing too. I think they're more like a storage network, but like maybe they also have cloud computing too. I'm not sure. Maybe that's a new offering. But yeah, like things that like offer like instead of using like Amazon Web Services or some other cloud computing, decentralized cloud computing is another hot one. So yeah, I think DPIN's going to be hot. I To be fair, I don't have hardly any exposure to DPIN, maybe nothing, but I should probably think about it because I think that could be a hot one.
Yeah, Blockade. So I want to just say, like, I like to explain things simply. For me, this is Deepin. There's a company called Demo out of Rhode Island right now. What they do is you put an apparatus, a little machine into your car, and you literally get paid for driving around and mapping out an area in crypto. That's basically Deepin. It's just that's how easy it is to understand. Google had paid people to drive around just to collect data. All you're doing in Deepin for a lot of these projects is driving around collecting data and getting paid in crypto instead of fiat currency, which is US
Yeah,
dollars or euros or whatever else.
yeah, that's a really cool one. I actually haven't bought it yet. I'm thinking about it. Like Aura rings and those fitness trackers. I think there's like a crypto health tracker ring. I
Yep.
think you have to buy it in Solana, but there's a chance that it could have an airdrop. So like they're collecting your health data, and then you get paid in some token that could ostensibly have some value in the future. So that's really cool. I think the wider picture there is like there might be decentralized alternatives for everything. Like you said, instead of Google Maps, you can use this. Instead of Aura Ring, you can use a decentralized version. Instead of your regular basic VPN, you can use a DeFi, decentralized VPN. Like literally, there's going to be decentralized versions of a lot of this stuff. It's probably going to be safer, more secure, better in the future. It's hard to say right now, but in the future, I think that's where we're trending.
And also, I like just to give a shout out to SoFi, or I believe that's how you pronounce it, like decentralized social media. And we have a partner called Arrow Social. You should look it up. They're pretty good. They pay out their content creators in cryptocurrency. They're still starting, but they're getting lots of traction. They're on the Apple Store, Google Store, and everything. So we're almost coming up to the end. So before we say, we finish up, or you have any last thoughts, like where can people follow you? Because again, this is my first time doing a live, so I might mess up with like putting everything in. So can you spell out like your Instagram handle and all that stuff, and anywhere else people can follow you?
Yeah. So you can follow my Instagram. I think it's block.cade, BLOCK.cade. That's my Instagram, and you should see it. It's at Blockade. The name is Blockade Hoddleson, and there you can find my link tree that should go to the Spotify of my podcast. I might restart it actually. You kind of inspired me, Mike, and it goes to my crypto Twitter. So follow me there. I think my DMs are still open. So if you want to chat or ask some questions or share some memes,
Professionally,
feel free.
professionally. If there's any girl that watch this, I know crypto space is mostly men, but professionally, go ahead.
Professionally, what? If people
DM,
want to
DM
follow
you,
me,
DM you, DM. You know they say the joke is that it goes down in the DMs.
No.
I'm saying that you're taken, man. But go ahead. I'm joking.
Yeah. No. I think just follow me on Instagram. That would be exciting. I don't use it much, but I might share some memes and some more crypto coins and stuff like that. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter, and yeah, if you want me to start the podcast again, listen to some of my episodes. I did some. They're a little older now, but I think they're really good. I did one with Roger Ver. We talked about today. I'm actually in the process of reading his book. It's called Hijacking Bitcoin. So check it
Nice.
out if you're skeptical about the high fees like I am. And yeah, check out my podcast. I did one with Roger Ver. I did one with Dan Conway, who is like an ETH guy, very cool. Those interviews stand up. I did a bunch of other interviews with did some DeFi interviews and a few other cool interviews. Did one with the guy who made Bitcoin and Friends. So check it out. Tell me what you think. And yeah, I'd love to chop it up and do it again sometime. World.
Definitely. Hopefully for your podcast or an Instagram live, maybe, because that'll be actually really fun. Yeah, we'll do an
Yeah.
Instagram live at some point, maybe next week or something. But anyway, that being said, from the decentralized forest and from the crypto kingdom of Rhode Island, upward and onwards.
Huddle. Later, world.
Thanks, brother.